Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life you absolutely love. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. Amy will be joining us in a bit as we take on a subject that everyone deals with every day, whether you know it or not. This is important, so stick around as we discuss the topic of stress. What is it? Are there different types of stress? How does it affect us? And what are some positive ways to deal with it? But before we get into that, I want to remind you that if you have questions that you would like us to answer on or off the air, you can email them directly to me at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. Now, let's get to today's email. It says, Fletcher, there are so many things that I want to do in life, so many experiences that I want to have. I have ambitions and dreams. I think that I could accomplish them, even be good at them. I was a good student, always got good grades. I know I have potential. My husband tells me I'd be good at anything, as do my friends. I feel like I have a lot of knowledge about so many topics, and I'm always reading and acquiring knowledge. I think my problem is that I'm interested in too many things, or I would feel like I'm missing out if I just focus on one thing. It's true I don't want to miss out on anything, but maybe this is getting in the way of me accomplishing or doing what I am really meant to do. Any suggestions? Thanks, Becca. All right, Becca, good job on reaching out. As we know on this show, reaching out is a sign of strength. Now, there's so much I want to address here, so let's dive into this. First of all, I love that you're interested in so many things and make it a priority to learn. It sounds like you're always going to be a lifelong learner. And that's a practice that could serve you well. But hear me when I say it could serve you well, because it may not. Something you'll hear me say a lot on this show is that knowledge is interesting, but unless you apply it, unless you marry that knowledge with action, it's pretty useless. Think about it. If a physician has years of medical knowledge through study, but doesn't apply it, they can never make that difference for their clients. If you understand the world of finance and how to grow your money, how to have it work for you, but then you don't take any action, what good is the knowledge? Again, knowledge may be interesting, but unless applied, it's useless. Becca, you may be the most knowledgeable person in the world, but unless you take action, it simply doesn't make a difference. Now, you said you don't want to miss out on anything, and that may be getting in your way, you said. I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest that it likely is indeed getting in your way and actually causing you to miss out on your life. You see, your fear of not wanting to miss out has taken you out of the game of committing to anything. Now, there's nothing wrong with living this way, but you're going to miss out on the richness of life if you simply live your life in the stands. The game of life is on the court. And so it's time for you to get into the game. Yes, you're going to get knocked down and you're going to get hurt, but there are going to be incredible celebrations, victories, lessons, tremendous bonding as you get into action with other people. In fact, you're going to be so filled up when you commit to the game that you won't be worried about missing out on so many of the other things because you're going to feel fulfilled. And there are lots of games to play. You don't have to play the same game your entire life. I know a woman who has reinvented herself so many times. She's been a photographer, a chef, an interior designer, a fitness instructor, to name just a few. And she doesn't just read about these things. She takes action and develops the skill sets. So, what is missing for you, Becca, is the willingness to commit. Nothing happens without commitment. And commitment is one of the elements needed for us to experience our own personal power. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when we commit to something, it makes us responsible for a specific outcome. For instance, if we commit to running a race, we then become responsible for the outcome of completing it. You see, being responsible allows us to be powerful. Commitment requires responsibility. Responsibility gives us access to our personal power known as action. So, Becca, it's time to make a commitment. Take responsibility for the commitment by getting into action. And one final thought, and this is a quote from, his name just went out of my head. Well, I'll get back to you on that. But the quote says, it's important that you get clear for yourself that your only access to impacting life is action. The world does not care what you intend, how committed you are, how you feel, or what you think, and certainly it has no interest in what you want or don't want. Take a look at life as it is lived and to see for yourself that the world only moves when you act. All right, Becca, get out there, get into action, and I believe in you. Hey everyone, welcome back to Live It Up. We are here with Amy. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning.
Hey, that quote I just mentioned in the first part of the segment was a quote by Werner Erhard. So, we're going to talk about stress today, yeah?
Yes, we are.
All right, so when people talk about stress, frequently it's in the context of having a lot to do, like I gotta, pick up the kids, I gotta make lunches, I gotta get them off to school, I gotta get them to sports, and I gotta take care of my own stuff. I feel stressed out. Is that kind of what the stress you're talking about is, and can that be harmful?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the stress that we'll talk about more as we get more into depth with this, but the thing that we found to be harmful is when someone is exposed to chronic high levels of stress. So if you have a limited amount of high stress, then that's not going to be harmful, and our bodies are made to deal with that. But if you have chronic levels of even moderate, maybe high, mild amounts of stress, then that can definitely be taxing and can be harmful, especially if you're not practicing anything that helps your body and your nervous system recover.
All right, well, what do health professionals mean by stress?
So stress is a normal response that the body has, both psychologically in your brain and physiologically with your body. And again, like a small amount of stress can be good. So say you all of a sudden realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. And your body kind of launches into this stress reaction and it allows you to be focused and take care of things. Or, say someone is behind you at night and you run quickly. I mean, that's all part of your body's stress response. And again, that can be helpful. So, and that is when a health professional means stress, I mean, there can be physiologic stress, there can be emotional stress. But the thing, in this day and age, when people are multitasking all day, then that kind of stress, chronic stress, especially without balancing out, that's what we get concerned about when we talk about stress. Mm-hmm. I mean, our brains are hardwired with this alarm system. So when we receive some, there's a signal to our brain that there's a threat out there, then your brain signals your body to release all of these hormones, and that's when we experience that flight or fight response. Mm-hmm. And then and that fuels your body to be able to take care of it. But then when that threat is gone, your body's meant to return to its normal relaxed state. And so unfortunately, modern day life has this nonstop level of we're being bombarded with sound, visual stimulation, and multitasking in a busy life. So we rarely turn off our nervous system, and so that's what health professionals get concerned about. And with electronics and TV and everything, that when your body doesn't ever get a break from that can be a bad stress.
Okay. And there's not just one kind of stress, right? There's multiple kinds of stress.
Yeah, like what I've talked to. So you can have, physiologic stress, where that can be something like if someone scares you, that's stressful. Mm-hmm. Or say, the other thing that can be a physiologic stress if you go too long without eating, especially if you're already under kind of emotional stress and then you're going too long without eating, your body can also see that as stressful. And
that's interesting, because I think a lot of people probably experience that when they go too long without eating, but they are not aware that that's actual kind of stress for their body, right?
Yeah, I mean, you frequently get surprised that your brain's not working quite right when you go too long without eating, but your body doesn't know that there's food around the corner. So if you go too long without eating, or only you're not eating the right things, your body can see that as a potential future stress that then it has to guard against. And then an emotional trigger that your body feels like it's in danger. Again, your body doesn't know that the text you just got, it's going to feel the same to you like someone's hunting you down and you're, on the savannah. Your brain doesn't necessarily know the difference. Mm-hmm. So, and a surgery is a big physical stress. Being ill is a big physical stress. And then some people also, if they're working out either too hard for their body type, their age, or their level of fitness, your body can also see that as stress. There's so many things that are kind of subtle forms of stress that people don't realize are causing stress for their body and their nervous system.
Gotcha. What's the toll that you see stress take on lives from a medical perspective?
So there have been studies that have shown that stress can impact and worsen asthma. There are studies that look at
And would that be like a physical stress that's worsening the asthma?
Not necessarily. If your body kind of is in this chronic state of stress, again, all these chemicals and hormones are released, and it could play into inflammation, which is a big cause of asthma. Because when you have chronic stress, it frequently will cause inflammatory markers to be stimulated in your body. And then obesity is something that also is made worse when you're under stress. So if people are chronically stressed, sometimes they can't lose weight because cortisol is being released all the time, and that also leads to then insulin production, which then which tells your body to store fat and to release more sugar. So your body is getting ready for danger, and so it's storing fat. And so you need to actually, I talked with a patient about this the other day, you really need to work on stress reduction, especially if you did stress reduction practices before you eat. It helps your body realize you're eating in a relaxed state, not in a state where this food has to be stored right away.
Yeah, I have heard that in the past, and I kind of poo-pooed it, what can being relaxed before you eat, what kind of difference can that make? But it actually makes sense in that context.
Yeah, and then stress can increase high blood sugar or cause high blood sugar in diabetics. Definitely diabetics will notice that if they're sick, that can happen, or around the time of surgery. Headaches are frequently triggered by stress, both migraine and tension headaches. Chronic stress is connected with higher rates of depression and anxiety. There was a survey that found that people that were in a job that were experiencing stress related to their job in a job that maybe was demanding and had very few rewards, they had an 80% higher chance of developing depression within a few years compared to people that had lower amounts of stress at work. The GI tract, people will definitely notice that too. Stress can cause heartburn. If you have irritable bowel syndrome, stress is a huge trigger. Our guts are very sensitive to our state of mind. There have been some studies that show that stress may worsen Alzheimer's, causing brain lesions to occur more quickly. Accelerated aging, that when you're under chronic stress and you have that high level of cortisol, it actually affects the DNA. It actually ages a portion of the DNA. They looked at a study of mothers who were caring for a chronically ill child, which is a really stressful thing to have happen. There was a particular region of the chromosome that had accelerated aging, maybe by 9 to 10 years of accelerated aging just from being under stress. The last thing, there was a study that looked at premature death, that looking at elderly caregivers who are looking after their spouses, again, which is something that's so stressful. I see it all the time. Those folks do not take care of themselves. They're always under stress. They're not sleeping well. They're not eating well, and not taking care of themselves. Those caregivers had a 63% higher rate of death than people their same age who were not caregivers.
Wow.
So that's, not taking care of themselves and the combination of stress.
Mm-hmm. So this is serious stuff.
It is. It's no joke, and we're so used to it that people don't realize they're kind of in it.
Yeah, I think it's almost sometimes we wear our stress like a badge of honor. Sure. I've got so much going on. I'm so stressed out. And that's not serving you well.
No, it's not. It's not healthy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we talked about some of the tolls that stress can take. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk about some of the ways we can see that we're experiencing stress and then what to do about it. All right. Stay with us. Live it up. We're talking about stress today, the different kinds of stress, the toll it can take on your body, and what you can do about it. And it's, like she said earlier, this is no joke. It's the serious stuff. So do you think people can be experiencing stress without them being aware of it?
For sure. I see it all the time, and in my office, and people will come in with something, and when we go to talk about it, it's clear that it's likely lifestyle related, stress related potentially, and they don't really realize it. So some of the things that I see people with are like headaches, stomach aches, insomnia, appetite disturbances that they've ended up being stress induced. I had this one patient who I think she was having stomach pain, and she was actually feeling really stressed out by watching and listening to political radio, but her husband kind of wanted her to listen to it every day, and so we talked about maybe just taking a break from that, because it was really making her upset and causing her stomach to hurt, and she stopped or put some limits on it, and then that went away.
Yeah, I mean, I'll chime in on that one because, as you know, I have to take news breaks periodically because I'll be watching the news and yeah, I feel anxious or stressed or irritable.
Yeah.
But I keep on reading it, so when I can interrupt that by saying, okay, now I'm taking a news break, it makes a big difference for my psyche.
So stress can present in the body as headache, muscle tension or pain, fatigue, gastrointestinal problems like stomach ache, low libido. That's a big one too. You know, people are like, I just don't want to have sex in the evenings. You know, it's like after they've had this really stressful day and they've not done anything to kind of restore or rebalance and feel calm again, then of course they're not in the mood. And I don't know if I already said insomnia for sure. And then affecting, you know, the brain and the mood, stress can definitely cause or precipitate anxiety. People will also report to me they feel like maybe their memory is impaired, but after we talk about it, what's happening is they're kind of constantly, they're just in this like wheel in their brain, and so they're actually not paying attention to what's happening, so they aren't focused as much, and so they actually aren't retaining or hearing the information as well the first time because they're distracted by their busy brain, which isn't being able to be calmed down. People can feel overwhelmed, have irritability or anger. That's what happens to you when you watch too much news. Yeah. Or have sadness or depression.
Yeah. So, and it really is a lot about what you're focusing on.
Yep.
As a trigger or a way to deal with it, which is my next comment to you. Like, how can we reverse the effects of stress? Is that possible? And what are some of the ways we can do that?
Yeah. So, and I wouldn't use the word reverse because you can't take it back. It's already happened. But we would use the word restore or having resilience. So your body understands that there's no danger coming, and so it can relax. And so and what I'll talk to patients about is that what you're doing is you're trying to increase your parasympathetic tone in your body versus your sympathetic tone. So your sympathetic nervous system is more involved in that fight or flight, and the parasympathetic tone is related to relaxation. So some of the things you can do, that would mean getting enough sleep. So like we talked about one of our other shows, was for men, that's like 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and for women, that's 8 to 9 hours for most women. Getting adequate hydration, and we talked about that, remember too, that was like over a gallon for men and like close to a gallon for women. Eating healthy food, so avoiding sugar, caffeine, alcohol, processed foods, because your body is then having to do different things to try to metabolize things that maybe aren't easy to metabolize or like alcohol, which isn't that great for you, or caffeine, which is stimulating.
And let me jump in there just for a moment, because from listening to all this, it can be overwhelming, and I can imagine for other people too, it could be overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, I can't radically change my diet and my sleep and my exercise. And so I just wanted to say, we're not suggesting you do any of that. Just take a baby step. Begin to take little baby steps to reduce the amount of stress that's in your life.
Yeah, well, and I guess maybe not, for most people, it maybe wouldn't be all those things we're doing. For some, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely taking one thing that you think might be the thing that's harming you the most, or that maybe you can feel is not good for you. And then the other things you can do that are calming, like exercise is very calming for people. And you can just pay attention to how you feel after exercise to make sure it is calming. So maybe for some people, if they do something high impact, it's very calming and relaxing. For others, it's not. So find what feels good for you there.
Yeah, let's talk about that just for a second, because after I'm done exercising, I'm like, I'm energized.
Yeah.
Let's do something else. Let's take on a project. Let's clean something.
No, and that's good. I mean, that's not a bad thing. So it's if someone exercises and then they feel really like achy and tired, like in that moment, like they feel drained, then that may have not been the right exercise. You do want to feel kind of relaxed and restored after exercise. You don't want to feel like you have to take a nap after you exercise. That means that it maybe wasn't the right thing for you to do.
Okay.
So taking a warm bath can feel good and restore and increase that parasympathetic tone. Meditation, you can use a guided meditation. There's lots of them on YouTube. So if you're someone who's like, I cannot turn my brain down or turn it off, then do a guided meditation where someone's talking you through it, and then you don't have to have that the totally quiet mind. Art, journaling, laughing, we've talked about that before. So people frequently think that watching TV or surfing the internet is relaxing, but it's really actually not. For your brain, it is not. Your nervous system does not find that relaxing because it's usually very stimulating. There's a lot of light, there's sound, there's, if you were to watch what happens when someone's watching TV, like on the wall, there's all kinds of light stimulation and changing. So all of that your brain's having to deal with. So it's actually not a relaxing thing.
Yeah, and I would imagine too, like if you're, like on Facebook or social media, and you're like just constantly scrolling through topic after topic after topic after topic, your brain's having to process all that data.
It is. So that's actually not relaxing.
Yeah.
So we really want to practice stress management and resilience. So it's okay if you had something that happened that's stressful, but then just make sure that you take care of yourself after that.
So what do you do to manage stress in your life?
What do I do? Mm-hmm. Well, what I do meditation. So my goal is to do it 3 times a day. And even like at lunch yesterday, I come home for lunch, and I told Fletcher I was going to take 5 minutes, but it actually I think was 3 minutes, where I just did some deep breathing, and I just kind of went through my body and just relaxed and kind of said something positive. So then I'd go back to work with a calm brain after having a morning of multitasking and serious stuff happening and a sick person and all this stuff. And then in the morning I do that, in the afternoon I do that, and then in the evening I exercise, take a bath, read. Those would be my main forms.
Yeah, and I would like to just go back to the meditation for a second, because a lot of people have this misconception of meditation, like it's going to take a lot of time, it's hard to do, or I'm not very good at it. You just said you took 3 minutes. I
took 3 minutes, and I'm practiced at it, so I can get really relaxed in 3 minutes, but it doesn't take that long. And I don't necessarily need to listen to anything, but that's just me. But I'm also practiced at it. But you could just pop something, and you can even record yourself and put earphones in and just do it really quickly.
Yeah.
Or there's also all kinds of apps on your phone too, where you can look at something while you're breathing, and in just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
You can actually notice when you have good parasympathetic tone, because your palms will get warm, and that helps you know that you have cut that sympathetic tone and have good parasympathetic tone, and that your nervous system has been relaxed.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, so I do some visualization pretty regularly, and I'm not a big fan of just sitting there in silence, so I do enjoy the guided meditations, or I put on my music that allows my mind to just kind of wander in a real freestyle visualization, and which is also very helpful.
It helps, yeah. So I want to talk about the actions that you can take if you feel like you're stressed. The first thing to do is you need to notice that you're stressed and become aware of it. And then even just mildly, so then you can intervene. And so if you took 4 deep breaths, where you inhale for 4 to 5 seconds and exhale for 4 to 5 seconds, even longer if you can, but take these big deep belly breaths and that you will notice your palms will get warm just with these big deep breaths. That will be helpful. And you can do this at line in the grocery store. You can do this when you're driving. You can note and relaxing any areas of tension. And the other thing, we're almost out of time here, but if you focus on the present moment, usually the things that we're stressed out about are in the past or in the present. They haven't happened yet.
Yeah.
And so you can just focus on what's actually happening. Look at a flower, look at an eagle, look at things, and you can actually calm yourself down. You can look at the horizon as calming, and then just try to keep your problems in perspective, be grateful, choose something to be grateful for and focus on.
I love it. Yeah, whatever you focus on, you feel.
Yeah.
So we're out of time.
Yeah.
It's time to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You have something to offer this world, and we believe in you.